Use the dots to draw one different shape which has a right angle. So in the shape that they've drawn, the right angle is this angle here, because remember, a right angle is like the corner or the same size as the corner of a piece of paper or the corner of this screen. So there are lots of possible solutions for this question. So I've drawn a kite and it has its right angle here because this is the same size as the corner of a piece of paper or the corner of a screen. Some children each chose their favourite sport. This chart shows the results. Which sport was chosen by the most children? So for this bar chart, we can see that how far it extends on the left tells us the number of girls who like the sport, and how far it extends on the right, the number of boys. So for tennis, we can see that it's between 8 and 10, so 9 girls like tennis and 8 boys. For football, we can see that 6 girls like football and 10 boys. 6 girls prefer netball and 3 boys because the bar is halfway between 2 and 4. For swimming, we have 10 girls and 8 boys. For basketball, 10 girls and 3 boys. And for rounders, we have, if we go up, between 4 and 6, so that's 5 girls and 6 boys. So the sport chosen by the most children is swimming, because that was chosen by 10 girls and 8 boys, so 18 children altogether. And also notice the bar for swimming is larger than all of the other bars on the chart. How many more girls than boys chose basketball? So we can see that basketball was chosen by 10 girls and 3 boys. And the question says how many more, so we need to find the difference, which means we need to use subtraction. So 7 more girls than boys chose basketball. Now write all the sports that were chosen by more boys than girls. So tennis was chosen by 9 girls but only 8 boys, so we're not going to write tennis. Football, we have 10 boys and 6 girls, so football is one of our sports. And then the other sport, which has a higher number of boys than girls, is rounders, because that was chosen by 6 boys but only 5 girls. For all of our other bars, the number of girls is larger than the number of boys choosing the sport. Look at this number. We have 697,432. What is the value of the digit 6 in the number? Circle the correct answer. Well, we need to remember that when counting place values, we count from the right and we have ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, and then the 6 is in our 100,000s place, so that stands for 600,000. It's in the 100,000s place, and 6 times 100,000 is 600,000. Emily, Ben and Nisha take part in a sponsored swim to collect money for charity. Emily collects £2.75 more than Nisha. Ben collects £15. Nisha collects £7 less than Ben. Altogether, how much money do the 3 children collect? So we need to know how much each child collects so that we can add up their totals. We know that Ben collects £15, and if Nisha collects £7 less, we can subtract £7 from £15, so that means Nisha collects £8. We also know that Emily collects £2.75 more than Nisha, so that's the £8 that Nisha collects plus another £2.75, which gives us £10.75 for Emily. Now we want to know altogether how much they collect, so we need to add £10.75, £15 and £8. So we could use column addition, but we'll get the answer £33.75, because 10 plus 15 plus 8 is 33, and then we need to remember that we have 75p as well. Hassan scores 40 out of 80 in a test. Kate scores 40% in the same test. Who has the highest score? Explain how you know. So we know that Hassan scores 40 out of 80, so we can write that as a fraction. And we also know that a percentage is a fraction with a denominator of 100. But we can't change 80ths into hundredths because 100 is not a multiple of 80. But what we can do is simplify the fraction first. So 40 over 80, if we divide both the numerator and denominator by 40, we can see that that's the same as 1/2. And 1/2 is the same as 50 hundredths, so the same as 50%. That means Hassan has the higher score. 40 out of 80 is equivalent to 50%, and 50% is higher than 40%. Remember, we're told Kate only scored 40%. The other way to explain how we know is to work out what Kate scored. So to find 40% of 80. 40% or 40 hundredths is the same as 4/10. So we can find 4/10 of 80. Remember, we divide by the denominator first, and 80 divided by 10 is 8, and then 8 times 4 is 32. So that means Kate only got 32 out of 80, because 40% of 80, the same as 4/10 of 80, is only 32. But Hassan scored 40, so Hassan has the higher score. Here is part of a timeline. Draw a line from each invention to the correct point on the timeline. One has been done for you. So the telephone was invented in 1876, and that's the point on the timeline. Now, to understand how this timeline works, we need to know what each of these little lines represents. We have 1800 and 2000 marked on our timeline, and to get from that point to that point, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines. Now the difference between 1800 and 2000 is 200. 2000 is 200 more than 1800. And because we made 10 jumps, we can divide 200 by 10. And because that's 20, that tells us that each line on our timeline represents 20 years. So we can spot that 1820 will be the first line on our timeline, which means that if we want to show 1810, we need to draw a line to our timeline that's halfway between 1800 and 1820, because 1810 will be in the middle of those years. Now we need to show 1945. This line here will be 1900 because that's right in the middle of 1800 and 2000. Then this line here will be 1920 because remember, each line represents 20 years. Then this line here will have 1940 and here 1960. So to show 1945, we need to draw our line to between 1940 and 1960, but our line needs to be closer to 1940, because 1945 is only 5 years after 1940, but it's 15 years before 1960. From 1945, we need another 15 years to get to 1960, so it needs to be between these lines, but closer to the line which represents 1940. Circle two different numbers which multiply together to make 1 million. So we have the numbers 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000 and 100,000. So if we take 100,000, that's a 1 with 5 zeros on the end. With 1 million, we have a 1 and 6 zeros on the end. So if we multiply that by 10, we'll get a million, because multiplying by 10, we can just put a 0 on the end of our number. 100,000 times 10 is 1 million, because here we have 5 zeros, and here we have another 0, so that's 6 zeros in our answer, which gives us the number 1 million. The other possible solution is 10,000 times 100. That's 1 million, because in the question, altogether we have 6 zeros, 4 here and 2 here, so that means we have 6 zeros in our answer. So we could have 110,000 circled as well. Car boot sale entrance fee, adults 50p, children 30p. 100 adults and 80 children pay to go in. How much money do they pay altogether? So we can work out how much the adults pay, how much the children pay, and then add up our total. So 100 adults pay 50p, and 100 times 50 is 5,000, because 1 times 5 is 5, and then we have a total of 3 end zeros in our question, 2 here and 1 here, so we'll have 3 end zeros in our answer. And 5,000 pence is the same as £50. Now for the children, we have 80 children, and they each pay 30p. 80 times 30 is 2,400, because 8 times 3 is 24, and then we have 2 end zeros in our multiplication, so that's 2 end zeros in our answer. And 2,400 pence is the same as £24. So the adults pay £50 and the children pay £24. So to work out how much they pay altogether, we can add up those totals, and 50 plus 24 is 74. So they pay £74 altogether.